Good afternoon. How are you today? My name is Jason Medlock. I am the host of I'm Woke. And it is great to be with you tonight and to share wonderful experiences in spirituality. This has been a pet peeve of mine for a long time. I could remember back when I was a young boy, and my sisters would always, give me those nudges of spiritual advice. They would show me how to manifest. They would show me how to use my mind and really manifest things that I want just by meditation, just by thinking. So it's been a very pleasurable experience throughout my life. I want to start back when I was maybe about 9 years old. I always wondered what was going on in the universe. What about the planets? I mean, I had 100,000 questions for family members, and it would lead me to wonder, why am I here? What's my purpose? And probably around when I was a 12th grader in high school, I was getting ready to go to college. My sister started to teach me about the law of attraction. And I think that was my first bit of spirituality influence. And so I started to learn about the law of attraction. I started to learn about vibration. I started to learn about manifestation. And before you know it, I was hooked. I am very excited to continue on with this journey. I'm very excited to share it with you. I'm Woke is about having very simple conversations with people, with average, ordinary people who may have, at one point or another, experienced something that they cannot explain. Have you ever had that happen to you? Experiencing a loved one that may be in your dream, experiencing a prayer that may have taken you on a wild trip, experiencing being asleep and having an out-of-body experience. Those things are all a part of spirituality. And it's just amazing that people sometimes they hold back from sharing their thoughts, their ideas, their dreams, because no one wants to be called, hey, that guy's crazy, or hey, she may be a little loony. But in actuality, our spirituality is what makes us who we are. Our spirituality should be treasured. It should be something that we constantly work on. So I was very excited to put together a team, to put together a group of individuals who will, throughout the entire year of me doing this show, offer insight, offer ideas, be able to listen to others speak, be able to gently speak through the conversation and speak through some of the pain that an individual may feel. So I'm excited. It's our first show. I'm going to bring on my guests right now, three beautiful young ladies. And without further ado, it is time for us to go ahead and kick this thing off. So I'm gonna be adding Tereska, Tosca.
Hi, everybody.
These are my sisters, and I call them guests because they are guests, but they're my sisters too. Tosca Medlock Lee. Introduction: she's a public relations expert. Tosca has a really huge operation that's focused in the faith-based community. She offers public relations and marketing. She does a lot of consulting with a number of different religious leaders. Tereska is a faith-based leader. She's a musician, professional musician. She's very powerful in the word. She's very thoughtful, and the ability to use her religion and her knowledge of the Bible, but also understand how it intertwines with spirituality is something to really marvel. And ladies, without further ado, we'll just start to have a conversation. We'll start to maybe kick around some ideas and float some topics. It is our first show. And tonight, we all said that we would be very loose and very fluent with our conversation. I'd like to hear from Tosca right now. Hey, sis, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? And I'm really going to be loose. I'm not going to be. It's just an evening that we're going to kind of talk about. For me, just learning to be. And one of the things that I think that when Jason said that he wanted to do this podcast and he wanted to do this show, because he wanted to be able to inspire and awaken people to their own spirituality. Because we're in a season, I think, where people are experiencing so many things personally, and sometimes we don't know why.
Right.
And then we don't know how to cope, from a different perspective. And I believe that the things that I have experienced in my life, and we'll each talk about a little what kind of led us to our spirituality moment or our enlightenment moment, or the moment where we completely was emptied out in order to experience being filled up. So tonight, what I brought was I brought an empty glass. Okay, and I like props, and but I brought this empty glass because I believe that during this 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or however long that you're with us, I believe that that you will be filled to a perspective to where you will want to know more. And in my faith, it says, my cup runneth over. And so our goal tonight is to be able to just, check in with you all and see how your cup can run over with being awakened for you to learn to be in terms of next level.
Tereska, do you have anything to add to that?
I totally agree with what she's talking about, because the whole idea is to realize who you really are. We're a physical being and we are a spirit being. So the idea is for you to really connect the two, because we are here to co-create with our physical being and our spiritual being. So I it's my prayer that everyone would listen in and actually chime in, write in questions in the chat, offer questions, and maybe we can help you answer some of the things that you're going through as well. But this is a journey that we're on. It's more of a spiritual journey than it is a physical one. So I want everybody to know that. And let's just get in this thing and enjoy the whole process.
Well, we're going to do a quick reset. Again, you're watching I'm Woke. I'm your host, Jason Medlock. I have two of my contributors, Tosca Medlock Lee and Tereska Hairston. We have another guest, Latasha Carroll. She's having a little phone difficulty right now, but we'll get her on. But Tereska, we're going to kick this thing off, and let's just talk about our spirituality and the ways that people look at it. We understand that spirituality is something that we're born with. And we're blessed with tools. We're blessed with the ability to do a number of things. But when we talked about, what it means to be in that space, and I can, as a little boy, and I'll talk about my story. As a little boy, I would go to church and I would pray and I would do all the things that you do in the Methodist church. Yeah, but there was still a void, and I believed in God, and I still do. I believe in the Bible, and I still do. But I had something that was missing, and I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. And I started to understand that I'm more than just this kid that's going to church. I'm more than just this kid that's doing his homework in high school. I'm more than that. And I started to read. I started to feel. And I was able to discover what it was to use your mind in regards to the law of attraction. My first touch, my first taste of spirituality. Well, Jason, what do you mean your first taste of spirituality? Because I was able to use my mind. I was able to bring those things that I wanted to happen for me in my life just by using my mind. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But my second very, very very, very deep experience with spirituality, I had an out-of-body experience, and I've shared it with a few people, and I think we'll kick off tonight with my own personal experience. I would always say I hadn't seen anything, I hadn't heard anything. I don't see ghosts, I don't see any of that. But I was a spiritual enthusiast, and I've read several books about life after death, several books on meditation, several books on the power of prayer and collective thought. But this particular night, the weeks leading up to it, I was practicing on how to have an out-of-body experience, how to leave my body. And when you're in that space, the first thing that I learned was that you have to really understand how to meditate. And meditation is more than just closing your eyes and just sitting there and trying to clear your thoughts. That's a part of it. But true meditation starts with a clean spirit, with a clean thought, with love in your heart, with light in your heart. So I was reading a book called Far Journeys by Dr. Bob Monroe. And in this particular book, it talked about how to use meditation to calm your mind. And that when you were almost asleep, then the meditation, after you had practiced it for 3, 4, 5 weeks, you were able to keep yourself awake, but be asleep at the same time. So here I am. Okay, I'm gonna try this. So ladies, I tried it. And what happened was absolutely amazing. Now I knew some of the effects to know that it's working. Like a lot of people were reporting in some of the books I was reading, the Astral Guide to Astral Projection, they were saying that once the out-of-body experience starts, you feel a tremble in your skin, almost like a motor is starting, almost like a car is starting. So I was laying there. I was half asleep, but I was woke. And that's what I was trained to do while trying to have this out-of-body experience. So I'm sitting there and my skin, literally, Tosca, starts to sort of like a car. I'm like, whoa, like what's happening to me? But it started to rumble and rumble and rumble, and I felt my skin. It was at my toes, and it worked its way up my calves, and it started to feel like a car was starting. So the next thing you know, my entire body was engulfed with this energetic, like motor, like a machine, like, this motor sound. So I remembered, I was like, oh crap. Okay, I feel it. I know it's about to happen. I know it. One of the techniques I had learned was to lay flat on my back and to roll out the body. So I tried that and it didn't work. So guys, I'm like, okay, this is not working. So how do I get out of my body? So I just laid there and I just had my eyes closed and I just thought, I was thinking, how do I get out? And the next thing I knew, boom, I popped out of my body and I could hear nothing but shh, loud wind, as if wind was blowing in my ear. But I later learned that when you're in your energy body, that you hear and you see at a higher rate than you can right now as a human avatar. So I'm out of my body and I'm floating to the corner of the wall by the ceiling, and I see myself asleep. I'm saying to myself, this is not real, but it was. So I made my way through the home. I walked straight through my door, because when you're when you're not in the physical, you're in the non-physical, and you're able to pass through material walls, doors, because you're in your energy body. So I was in my energy body, and I remember from the teachings of Dr. Bob Monroe, writer of Far Journeys, he said that when you leave your body, you must come back and take some sort of account, some sort of notation system, so you can kind of go back through your notes to make sure you had a true out-of-body experience. So I went into my son's room, and I said, hey, I was saying to myself, he's on his iPad. He's laying at the opposite end of his bed, and he's just, kind of hanging out. So I moved to my other son's room. He's up under the cover in his bed on his iPhone because I saw the phone through the sheets, guys. So I'm like, okay, wow, am I dreaming this? But I'm moving, and I'm actually directing this whole thing. So I said, okay, let me get back to my room. So I kind of moved back to my room. It was a slow process, but I moved back to my room. And all of a sudden, boom, I woke up. So I said, okay, I'm not going to bother the boys because it was around 2 a.m. in the morning. I said, I'm not going to bother them tonight. But I wrote everything down that happened, guys. So in the morning when I woke up, I went into my son's room and I said, hey, Jace. I said, what time were you up last night? He didn't say anything. I'm like, hey, you're not in trouble. I mean, tell me the truth. What time were you up last night? He said, it was late. It was like maybe 2 something. I don't know, Dad. I said, well, hey, listen, what were you doing? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, what were you doing around that time? He said, I know I was on my iPad laying on the bed. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I go into the other room and I see Justin. I said, hey, Justin, hey, what were you doing last night around 2 a.m.? He said, I was asleep. I said, okay, but did you get up? Did you do it? He said, I got up. I got up and used the bathroom. And I said, well, what did you do after that? He said, I got back in the bed and my cell phone was laying in the bed. So I just, I cut my phone on and just checked it and I went back to sleep. So guys, when I walked into his room, that's when I saw his cell phone under the sheets, the light. So I went back into my room and I verified everything with my notes. And that's how I really, really understood that I had an out-of-body experience. And I had practiced, I had tried to do it for a number of weeks. And let me just give you guys some advice out there who may try this at some point. Before any spiritual tool that you've been blessed with by God, before any of those things will work for you, you must have a clean heart. You must have a clear heart, full of love, full of light. And I know that sounds corny, but you must have a clean disposition about yourself and a very, very clear intent on why you want to do the things you want to do. And give permission for your spiritual guides and for your angels to help you, and they will. And guys, I want you to chime in on that. You can ask me questions. I called you, Teruska. I told you about this story. When I did call you and tell you about the story, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, I was a little worried because I remember saying, now don't keep doing that. You may not be able to get back in your body. But that's one of my questions now. I want to know, how did you get back into your body? When you went back into your room, then what did you do after that?
I see that we have one of our other contributors, Miss Latasha Carroll. We're just going to get her back on the line right here. Okay. And now, what did I do? Say that again. You said that when I got back.
What did you do when you went back into the room? How did you get back into your body? I mean, how did that happen?
Okay. When I got back into the room, I don't remember, but just from my readings, you normally get back into the area where your body is and you think about being in your body. Thoughts. So only thing I did was when I got back into the room, I was like, okay, I got to get back into my body. I was just thinking about it. And bam, I just woke up. Oh. And we all know that thought is the most powerful thing in the universe. And whatever we think, if we have a clear enough spirit, clear enough vessel, it will happen. So I thought about getting back in, and it happened, Teruska.
I actually was kind of said, yeah, because I knew if anybody would do it, it would be you, because I knew that it's something you wanted to do, and you kind of do everything you want to do. You kind of go after it, and I kind of chuckled, but I did insist, don't keep trying to do that, please.
Well, and one of the reasons why we're having this conversation and we're doing this type of show is so that people can share and people can, tell you about their experiences and not be afraid to, but understand that it's natural and that, we you can hear grandmama talking in the background, and you're like, wait a minute, grandmama has been passed for 30 years, but I can hear grandmama talking, and we become frightened. But we're not conditioned to understand that spirituality is in every human in the world, and that these are gifts that we have, and if we harness them properly, they could very well shed a huge enlightening on our life. Tosca, when I told that story, and I know you heard it, did it, and I know, our beloved Junius, he's heard it, and what did you think? I mean, did you say, oh, my brother, here he goes again?
No, I mean, I just think that, people really are wanting to, I mean, there are a number of questions out there about what is, beyond just what we see. And what, is there an afterlife? Or, in the African culture really believed in the spirit of our ancestors, and so it is not a foreign thing to really connect with the spirit of our ancestors, even in prayer or in talking to them. If you're trying to make a major decision on something in your life, that you consult, the ancestors, so it's not it's part of what you're talking about. It's an awakening, it's an enlightenment. And so I think that the opportunity for a lot of us to broaden our understanding of spirituality, and how it connects with faith and how it connects with what persons believe. I just think it makes us that more well-rounded as human beings.
I agree. And even if I was reading about this, I had never done it, had no clue what I was doing, but I believed it with every inch of my heart.
Yeah. And I just want to jump in also, because when we begin to talk about, that, I just even think of the Native Americans.
Yes.
You look at the culture of the Native Americans in the context and how their worship is centered around their ancestry. It's centered around the spiritual gods, and so I think it's just, I think it's great that we're talking about this, so that there's an enlightenment and understanding of it versus it being, okay, it's spooky.
And we talk about enlightenment, and we, a lot of things that we throw around, a lot of phrases we throw around on our show, the phrases themselves we can take a deep dive into it. And I was speaking to a friend of mine today, and I was talking to her about being enlightened. And she was like, well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And it's being woke. It's all of a sudden understanding that you're more than what you are. All of a sudden knowing that just by me waking up, smiling every morning, I'm being enlightened. I'm, instituting an awakening. And the awakening process is real. Once you start to understand that we are multi-dimensional beings that inhabit avatars, we're spirits. We're made of energy, light, and sound. And once you begin to uncover that, the enlightenment starts to happen,
So here's a question for the group, and Tasha, Tereska, anybody, because I mean, when we talk about, spiritual awakening, I don't want us to just, boom, stop here with spiritual awakening, because at the end of the day, something has to trigger spiritual awakening. Okay. You don't just, many of us, some people just have, like you always was an inquisitive person, and you always was on that realm of just wanting to know. But there is a trigger that sometimes individuals like myself, there's something that happens in your life that shakes you to your core, that leads you to a spiritual awakening. So the question that I have, Tereska and Tasha, is what causes a spiritual awakening, or what can cause a spiritual awakening?
Well, to some, you mentioned just now, through a traumatic experience or something like that, but initially, some people have different levels of when they get this revelation or this understanding. Sometimes you can get this understanding as a child. You can be young. Like for me, I believe that when I was young, very young, I had a spiritual connection, or an awareness to what actually to actually nature. And everybody, you guys know that I'm connected to nature more than I have this innate connection to nature. It's like I have a sense of oneness with it, and then my daughter will tell you all the time that, I revel at the moon and it's the beauties of God's creation. So we all have some type of awareness, but it's how or when do we decide to accept that enlightenment, right? It's when we decide to accept certain things. But Tasha, we all deal with it day to day, but we don't. Sometimes it goes ignored, or we kind of run through it.
Yes. But
if you, like Jason mentioned earlier about meditation, if you're one that really wanted to hone into that, like, what is that? What was that I just felt? Then meditation is a way you can actually meditate. Meditation is more also as a technique of it's like mindfulness. Is using your mind to focus in on certain particular things that you want or desire. So
well, I can say for myself, as a young child, my family have always been spiritual. But as far as becoming spiritual, having spiritual awareness, I believe that I've had many experiences and really didn't know where to go to find an understanding and what was going on. I think Tosca mentioned it earlier, some experiences you have. Some people may feel it is spooky. I felt that way. I felt like, what's going on? I've had several experiences, but I'm going to share one. In 2008, I'm going to say around October 1st, October 2nd, I had this one particular dream. The dream was myself and my mom preparing a funeral. Mind you, my mom passed in 2006. I was like, this is interesting. I mean, we were in my mom's house. Everything was the same. We were preparing a funeral. I was doing everything she wanted me to do. We get to our church, the church that we belong to, that we're members of. Right when we got to this casket, I wake up. I never knew the funeral we were preparing. I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
Second night, same exact dream. I'm like, okay, now wait a minute, what's going on? I tried to figure this out. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't want people to think like, it's not me. I didn't want to spook people with this conversation. At the time, there was a dream catcher. I forget the name, her title exactly, but she was on a popular radio station, and you could call into the radio station to speak to her and tell her about your dream, and she would explain to you about the dream. Every day I tried to call her, never got through. The one day I got through, as soon as she said, "How can I help you?" phone disconnected. So I had this dream, the exact same dream every night for about 2 weeks. Finally, I just like, God, what are you trying to tell me? What is happening? Who is this? What's going on? Maybe about 2 days later, my brother passed. So I held on to that, never did tell my other brothers about it, never did tell my father about it. I held on to that for a while. Jason and I, we've been best friends since we were 5. I'm going to say, Jason, probably like within the year, we started just having conversations, and I started seeing and feeling Jason's awareness. And I said, this is something I probably need to speak to Jason about to see if he could help me on this. So he started introducing me to Dolores Cannon, just introducing me to literature and everything. So at that moment, I believe that's when my awareness was introduced to me, speaking to Jason and getting literature and everything. Because at first I was, like Tosca said, I was spooked. I didn't know what to think or what to expect.
In the audience, Jason, I just think that, I'm glad that you shared that, Tasha, because, everybody is at a different level, I think,
Yes,
in terms of their spiritual awareness.
absolutely.
And so to be able to say that, if you are experiencing, whether it's dreams or if you've had some traumatic experiences that's happened in your life, and and you don't know, how to, really kind of cope, that is a door for you to not only be in prayer, but to be awakened in your spirit, man.
Absolutely.
Well, some would say that what Tasha experienced in her dreams was an alternate reality, in that we lived 23 different realities at one time. We don't just incarnate here on Earth. We incarnate a number of places, but the realities are separated by a thin fiber of thread, by simple vibrations. So just from my studies, I was telling Tasha, I think that you saw a alternative reality that's going on at the same time as your current reality. And Dr. Barbara Hand-Clough talks about that in a book called The 9 Dimensions of Alchemy. It's a very, 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 very interesting book about dimensions and how all these dimensions work. But Tasha, that's a fantastic story. And, for your mother to be planning a funeral with you, but in this particular reality, she wasn't even living. But this was what the dream you were having, and then all of a sudden your brother passed away. I just thought that was very, very, very interesting and very, very telling. And our conversations did lead to your awakening. You began to gravitate towards more literature that spoke to the things that you were feeling. And I'm happy that really impacted you. But Tereska, I know that there have been several times you shared with me that just the simple power of prayer has catapulted you into a different reality. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to our audience about that? And let me just reset. I'm Jason Medlock. You're listening to I'm Woke. We have a few viewers that may be watching us. Feel free to put your questions in our chat. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We want to have a productive conversation, and we want people to feel safe with their with things that they share dear. But this is going to be very, very casual, and we're not experts, but we want to give you our opinion, and we want to express our stories and our experiences at the same time. But Tereska, you are a part of a number of prayer groups. However, one particular story you shared with me, you were praying, and it appeared that you slipped off into an alternate reality. How does that happen, and can you share that with us again?
And I say again, pray. I pray and worship, so I do both. It's a prayer and worship type combination, and I have been known to do warfare through worship. It just it takes you to another place. But I was worshiping and praying and just allowing myself to be free and just release into the experience. And I always say, during worship, we want to go behind the veil, and that is actually to have connection with God. So I believe at that time that I went to a place that was behind the veil, is what the Bible says, but really is another dimension. And I experienced such a peace and warmth, and it was so surreal that, I mean, my spirit man began to make this sound. I mean, a sound came out of me, and I heard the sound. I was like, why am I saying, as I was talking, why am I making this sound? and it was so interesting, but I enjoyed it. It almost made me want to weep, but I realized that there was my spirit man, and I don't know if it was communicating with anything or because it was at this next realm. But it took me a minute because everyone around me, I mean, I didn't even. It's like everybody around me went away. I was in this whole thing by myself.
Well, you know,
it's actually a marvelous experience, and I just kept trying to chase that experience.
That is special. We have people that are chiming in online as we continue to have our conversation. I'm Jason Medlock. You're listening to us. If you're just logging in, we're having a spiritual conversation. This is I'm Woke, and my panel, Tasha Carroll, Tereska Harrison, Tosca Medlock Lee. But we're going to go to our YouTube feed and answer some of the questions. I see Dee is here. She says, I needed Tasha's story. And that's what we're here for. We're here to share stories, and it may touch certain people, and it may touch you in a certain way. But we want to be as transparent as possible. So throw those questions in there. We'll get to them. We have Caroline Eisern. Jason, can you speak to what are some of your experiences that have happened to you as a result of your awakening? Well,
yeah.
As a result of my awakening, I talked about the out of body experience, Caroline, but ever since that experience, I've just been so aware of the smallest things. Like I used to step on the ant. If I saw an ant in the house, I would step on the ant. Or I started to look at life, and I started to look at everything around me as energy. And I read in a book, Elizabeth Womack, The Archangels, and it talked about God and everything. I mean, cameras, tables, chairs, cars, shoes. Everything is made of energy. And in this particular book, they said that if you looked at everything as if it was energy and light, that it would automatically raise your vibration. And that was one of the side effects, Caroline, was that I was so happy. I was so full of love in my heart, and everything I saw around me looked like energy and light. And I practiced that, and I practiced that, and I practiced that. And that was a part of my awakening, that right there.
I'd like to chime into that, Jason, with that question that Caroline has as it relates to me, because I would say that my awakening is connected for me from my experiences through trauma. I mean, for us to be vulnerable about what are some of our experiences that happens that sends us to the place to where we need a reset of our soul.
Yes.
And for me, it has been, I just remember when my son was shot, and that was a place for me that was so traumatic that the only thing I had to do was bare my soul, to be able to keep my sanity. And then the thing of just the various trauma and experiences and the stresses of life. We are in a do world. And sometimes when we break down, our breakthrough happens through those spiritual awakenings.
Yes.
Because a breakdown, I mean, there's some things that we're going to break down from.
Yes.
Okay. And so we have to have our journey to a reset. And that journey is through this awakening for me.
Another part of Caroline's question was, it says, Jason, can you speak to what are some of your experiences that have happened to you as a result of your awakening? And then the last part of it was things like attracting people who are in the same wavelength as you. And I tell you that I like that question, Caroline, because some of my awakening was so enlightening, but it just seemed like I was able to, when I was in conversations with people or on the phone or just in, posting on somebody's Facebook page or social media, I would get the feel or sense that they had some sort of spiritual connection with me, or I had something with them. Or I would be on the phone with a friend of mine and I would all of a sudden say, hey, have you ever dreamt about seeing anybody or experiencing anything weird? And I don't know why I was doing it, but as a result of my awakening, my senses became much more sharper, and I was able to really feel other people's plight and where they were in life. Now, I'm not an empath, and being an empath is when you can feel emotions very, very strongly of others. But I did have this innate ability to understand what a person was going through and what they were yearning for, and I would provide that information. So yes, I want to get to it. I want to get to another question, or it's a comment, and it's from D again. The dreams she went through, I did too. Wow. Tasha, that was directed to you from D. The dream that you went through, D did as well.
Okay.
And her question now is, how do you find a reset when you want one? And let's let Tereska handle that. This is from Dee Dee. How do you find a reset when you want one?
How do you find a reset when you want one?
Yes.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's about tuning in to, and meditation is one of the techniques that you can use to find a reset.
Absolutely.
So you can just sometimes you have to quieten your mind sometimes, and go through, and you train yourself to be attentive and focus in on being clear and clarity and mentally clear. First of all, mentally clear. And then second of all, you want to emotionally be calm. So you get yourself in a state of meditation where you can do those things and allow yourself to be free, to let go. The Bible tells us to let go and let God. So when some people say, well, I surrender, but no, you really don't surrender because you're holding tight on physically to whatever you can think you can hold on to the emotions you're trying to have or whatever, but you got to let go and let God. So I would say the meditation is one way to actually start that process.
Tosca?
I want to add to that because Tasha was trying to get into the meeting just now, and Jason had to talk her through resetting her phone in order for it to work properly.
Oh, come on now. Come on. Come on, Tosca.
Yes. So, sometimes in addition to what Tereska was saying in terms of the activities to center yourself and to do the things that you need to do so that you can meditate and be able to be one with yourself and rid yourself of some things. Sometimes you have to reboot. You have to turn everything off. You got to shut your computer down. You have to turn off your phone. Do you know that we don't really turn off our phones? We just plug it up so that it could recharge. That's what we're doing in our spirits. We never turn off. So sometimes we have to go completely dark, y'all. We have to go completely dark. We have to shut it down, hold that button until you see, if you're an Apple girl like I am, until you see that Apple pop back up, and then it's letting you know that you are rebooting, that you are resetting.
Yeah, and those activities definitely help you reset.
And then those activities that Tereska is talking about will help you. But sometimes you have to go completely dark. What did I mean by that? Sometimes you have to, rid yourself of your kids. You have to go away from your husband or your significant other. You have to close the door on work. You have to not necessarily do the vacation that I just did where I just hung out and had a great time for the last 7 days. But sometimes you need to be in a space to where it's just you and your higher being.
Yeah.
Carrie Fleming says, absolutely, Tosca.
Reset your soul.
Yeah.
And Dee Dee says, please speak. Yes.
And plus, I want to recommend this book. I have to recommend this book. It's called Soul Reset.
Yes.
Breakdown, Breakthrough, and the Journey to Wholeness. It's by the late Reverend Junius B. Dodson. And that book is a transparent look at how you can reset your soul.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about reset and we talking about the whole premise of a reset, I think, Tosca, I love the analogy you gave. You know, but when I think about resetting my soul, it was more on the lines of the conversation that Tereska started off with, and that's centering yourself with meditation. Mm-hmm. Meditation has been around for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yes, yes.
And it can be used in such an inspiring way. Once you are able to calm your mind, mm-hmm. and you do that through practice, you calm your mind.
And emotions.
And there are different types of meditation you can use. Fractal meditation, 422 megahertz, I believe. That's the resonance of the earth. You know, different tones when you do your meditation. But just to be right there, trying to find who you are, slowing everything down and rebuilding your thought process. And we said a minute ago that thought was the most powerful thing in the universe. So meditation for me, once you wind everything backwards, slow things down, it's the quickest reset imaginable. And I was talking with Tasha one day, and Tasha, tell them your experiences with meditation, because you tried it. I mean, and you went through that 6-week course like I did. And what was your experience with it?
It was awakening. I was just listening to Tosca a moment ago, and I absolutely agree with what she said, because like I mentioned before, I come from a spiritual family, and I thought that I knew it all. And I was having all these experiences, and I'll share more later on down the line. And I didn't understand it. So I actually had to center myself and just start over, start reading. And Jason introduced me to meditating. Up until then, I didn't know. I just did not know. So to answer your question, Jason, about meditating, it was awakening. I mean, it was phenomenal. I would call Jason sometime and tell him that I just felt like I was in a different place. I just felt it's so hard to explain the feeling that I felt after I meditated.
Right.
So yeah, it was amazing.
And I'm gonna be honest, you know, one thing.
I remember when we were in school, where your teacher will say, like, if you didn't say something that was really nice, or your thoughts weren't really good, or something came out that wasn't good, they would say that you're having stinking thinking, you know, stuff. You know, and I just want to say on the lines of what you were just saying, Jason, about your thoughts and what Tereska was saying, because, you know, as a man thinketh in his heart and in his mind, so is he. And so that is, you know, so I want to challenge our audience out there to stop the stinking thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, Tosca, I love that. I'm going to tell you, the stinking thinking. Okay, because
you know what? We are our thoughts, right?
Yes.
And then we just talked about manifestation, and we just talked about the law of attraction. And not only is it that in our enlightenment, in our spirituality world, but for those of us who are believers in the Word of God, it is that in the Word.
We must.
We have to stop our stinking thinking.
We must. And I'm gonna hop all over that, Tosca. Tosca, we must, people, stop the negative vibrations when we're trying to pray for a miracle. We're trying to pray for a new car. We're trying to pray for my kids to go to college. But I don't like the lady who sits next to me at work. I don't like how the pastor always picks the same people to do the same things at the church. We cannot bring joy and peace and manifest with our minds if we have hang-ups. You gotta stop the stinking thinking. Okay, we have another question from one of our one of our guests out there, Caroline. Again, how do you know you are meditating correctly for a newbie? Yeah. And I love this, Caroline. Sometimes I find myself thinking about everything else that I need to do that day. And I'm gonna answer that one first, Tosca.
No, I don't have any. I'm with Caroline. I got the. You can tell me how to do that.
I can help you on that too, Jason.
Okay. Now, I want Caroline. I want you to know that statement you made is so natural. Every guru, every person that's out here doing these meditations that you're taking the courses from, they all tell you that you will have the outside day creep into your mind, and you should let it. But here's the kicker, Caroline. You have to continue to meditate. One side of the information is the human side of everything you're getting. The other side of the information is love. When you finish your meditations, Caroline, after every one, sit down, journal it. Write down on the left-hand column all the human junk stuff. Everything that you thought about in your meditation that was human, and it was junk, and it was trash, and it was your day, whatever it was. And then pick out of all of that the things that reminded you of love. And once you can daily, day in, day out, and you start to look at your ledger, you start to look at your journal, and all of a sudden the true messages are starting to show on the love side. Then you can then decipher the messages that are happening to you in meditation.
Yeah.
What it's telling you. And that's my take on that one, Tereska. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are some steps into a meditation, to get the revelation that you need. But I would suggest also, in addition to that, Jason, is to, because it's new, if it's new to you, start at 10 minutes at a time. Get yourself 10 minutes, then the next time try 15 minutes, next time, 15 to 20 minutes. And then, and there's steps, you're going to, like Jason said, write stuff down. And then you're going to quieten yourself first. You want to quieten down and read, because this is something you've never done before. And of course, your mind is going to be all over the place, because that's why you're doing meditation anyway, because your mind is all over the place. So initially is to sit down, calm yourself, focus in, and know this other thing, because people say you want to meditate, but there is an inner spirit there. You have a spirit man, and there's a physical man. We got to really understand those two things. We have a physical man, they call it avatar, and we have a spirit man. So in your meditation time, just think of it as getting to know your inner self, your inner spirit. That use that time to say, just like you would have a relationship with someone, you take the time to focus in on their conversation and focus in on them. So take that little time to focus in on your inner self. And it needs to be 10 minutes at a time. Start out like that.
When I do meditate, okay. And I am not a frequent meditator. Sometimes when I find myself really anxious,
there we go. That's what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I find myself really anxious, I will meditate. But what helps me is breathing. Mm-hmm. It helps me to really focus in on my breathing, to be able to calm myself. And for me, I breathe in, Jason, those things that's on that list that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I breathe in love, and I breathe out the things that's on that list. And I breathe in love, and I breathe out the things that's bringing me anxiety. I breathe that out.
But Tasha, can I just say this to you? Now, when you said sometimes I meditate because I'm anxious, I think that when you said anxious, some people meditate, like I believe Caroline, and she's had a long day. Like, I'm a professional, and it's a long day, and just kind of like your days. And you start meditating. And it's kind of like, am I ready to meditate? Because I'm thinking about all this other stuff. So that level of anxiousness while you're trying to meditate, how do you handle that, Tosca? Yes.
That's why I'm meditating, because I do not want to go to sleep with all of that anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because God says,
I don't want to end the night with anxiety.
God says, be anxious for nothing.
Right, be anxious for nothing. I want to be able to, it's almost like a wind down. You know, so it's either going to be the bottle of wine or it's going to be the meditation.
Say that again, Tosca. No, say that again.
The bottle of wine or it will be meditation. So y'all.
So you call it the wind down.
The wind down, literal wind down.
Listen, you guys, you'll be surprised.
Both of them to take away the stinking thinking.
Right.
But you guys will be surprised at in morning meditation how they will get jumpstart your whole day.
Yeah.
If you get up in the morning and do that meditation, it centers you. And one thing is clear, your mind is clear and you have all kind of creative ideas that flow to you. I mean, connecting with your spirit, your man, because your spirit man is there to give you enlightenment, to give you educate you, to give you ideas, to pour from all those things. You know, that's what your spirit man has. We have so many gifts that we have not tapped into, much knowledge that we haven't tapped into, because we walk around dilly-willy and not really focused in on our true inner self.
Well, this next question is for you, Tereska. This is, it looks like CF. She says, Tereska, because of your love of nature, do you find yourself feeling or being turned into everything to where your emotions are on high and you have quite the noise around you?
Yes. I mean, and been tuned to nature, absolutely. Because I mean, I hear everything. When nature, I see everything from the smallest little spider on the window. I mean, I hear everything because of me being a musician. I have that heightened hearing, so I hear everything.
You know, Tereska,
I love the orchestra of the earth, the sounds.
But who knows that about you,
I
though?
love that.
Who knows that about you? This lady, when I'm reading this, she said, because of your love of nature. But who knows that about you? She has to feel you right now. And I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because anybody who knows my sister, you love the ocean and you love the nature. And I hate to interrupt you, but that part right there did grab me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I just believe it's all a part of who we are. It's all a part of our existence, and we're all one. I just believe that we're all one in that, and if we can find that place of peace, that place of joy, then we can find that in the animal. We can connect with all the animals around.
Okay.
I don't want to be like what's the guy's name on the movie where he started hearing all the animals speak and all that kind of stuff.
I forgot his name. But okay, we have an interesting.
But I do look at. I do speak to the bird. I mean, I do speak to them. Sometimes if I feel that urge to do that, if I feel that solid connection to do that, I will do it.
Well,
I talk to my plants.
You talk to your plants. Okay, since that's a great segue. Since you talk to your plants and Tereska
talk to my plants,
and Tereska talks to the dolphins, and Tasha talks to whoever will talk to her. But
yes,
but now we have our next question from a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of Tosca, Tereska. We all know this guy, but since we're doing all this talking to, just things that we don't know what they are, Roger's question is, and Roderick Martin is the host of Extraterrestrial Evidence. I'm proud of this brother. He has one of the most popular and most up-and-coming shows, one of the hottest shows on Clubhouse right now. He's on YouTube. He just did a deal with Discovery. And he's getting ready to do a deal with Toomey. He's doing 2 deals with Discovery. He'll be in Las Vegas later this week at the MUFON convention for UFO evidence with Discovery. But Roderick's question is, how does all of this connect with the UFO phenomena? And I think I will take that head on, and I'll let you guys.
Yeah.
All of this connects with the UFO phenomena because the UFO phenomena are unidentified flying objects. We didn't say unidentified people, unidentified flying objects. But how does spirituality intersect with that? And the one way I can tell you is that spirits inhabit avatars, humans, whatever other kind of beings are in this universe. Mm-hmm. So that if spirits inhabit avatars, then they certainly inhabit other beings that are on other worlds. So if those beings are coming here, they're not just coming here with a empty soul. They are coming here with the Spirit of God in them. So spirituality swoops in across all different planes, and it connects with the extraterrestrial phenomena because we're all children of God. They're from different dimensions. They're typically higher, a higher vibration than we are, meaning that they're from another dimension. They're more clairvoyant than we are, and they're benevolent. Most UFO documentaries or UFO enthusiasts that have spirituality as a background, they understand that most ETs are benevolent. And Rod would argue that, but there is a danger factor there too, because we don't know what they may do. But that's the way I see, how does this all intersect with extraterrestrial evidence? And it intersects because we all share the same spirituality. Obviously, with the technology and the level these civilizations are on, because to be able to come visit us and we can't come see you tells us that you are on a higher level of technology. But we do know that we all are inhabited by spirits.
I would like to add to that, Jason, that we all also are created by the same creator. Would you say that?
Yes.
So
I absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's real cool. Tosca, would you care to add to that, or you want to not touch that one?
You know what? I'm gonna let y'all have that one. That's gonna send me to my wine cabinet.
Mr. Roderick, could you give us another question that these ladies can touch? Because you and I, we can go all night about UFOs and spirituality, but let's get back.
This is really a good. I mean, I'm glad that you are doing this because and I think it just leaves your audience with wanting more.
Absolutely.
Well, Tosca looks like Caroline has.
You have to invite us back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And guys, understand that the show will be on every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. The show is called I'm Woke. My name is Jason Medlock. You can go to my YouTube channel, Jason Medlock. And this is our first show, and it's not scripted. And for those of you who think that this is scripted, you're probably saying, well, yeah, you're right, because it don't sound scripted. But it's not scripted. We want to really, really, really share, really, really, really listen, really offer any kind of words of comfort, advice about your spirituality, your experiences, your auntie, your cousin who saw somebody who was the uncle who probably isn't living now, but why did I see him? And I saw this other person in my dream. And when I was meditating, I slipped out and I was in another dimension. And those things are not to be looked at as fearful things. That's just a part of our spirituality. Now, Caroline said, yes, I've noticed morning meditation energizes me and it helps me take on my day and start strong.
Amen. And I think as a takeaway for this evening and for those that's listening to us and for those who are not as familiar with meditation or what have you, I mean, I think that if we, and I'm going to take on one thing. So if we take on one thing that will invite more love and light into our spirit and to allow us to be a more loving spirit being, then decide what that is. Decide where you can reset in that moment. And I think Caroline and you, Tereska, just have made me to say that, you know what, I am going to be more intentional about my meditation time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Tosca, it sounds like you did your own outro. Can let's move it to Tereska. Would you like to go ahead and do yours?
For me,
Would you like to leave our audience with something?
Oh, definitely. I'm picking off Tosca at the same time. This meditation has been a pretty huge thing. Again, we are a spirit and we are a physical being. So allow yourself the time, and if it's just 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes, just take it slow. But allow yourself to get to that place, because I promise you that you're going to find more joy out of it. As you move about your day, you're going to find clarity out of it as you move about your day. And you're going to find that ideas and creative ideas are just going to flow. as you move about your day. So and it's definitely, I always call it plugging in. I'm plugging into the source when I meditate. That's what I call it. So
Amen.
do that every day, and that energizes you and it gives you, empowers you for the rest of your day. So
Tasha Carroll.
I'm with Tosca. When I started meditating, like I say, I told you how amazing I felt afterwards, but I always have these so busy days. I'm thinking of everything. I mean, so much is going on in my head. I have to find the time to calm myself so that I could meditate properly, because I'm thinking about what I have to do here, why I have to go to work, why I got to do this, got to do this. So I'm with Tosca. I think after hearing Caroline and Sylvester speak, I'm going to make that time to start meditating more. Yeah, because
It sounds like we're all going to have a reset, Tasha.
and we are.
We're pushing the button. We're starting over.
Let's do it.
Well, what I want to do, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm going to move you guys to the back room, and I'll go ahead and have a conversation with the audience, and you guys stay right there. But thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jason Medlock, and you have just been a part of I'm Woke, a spiritual conversation that we all need to have. A conversation that sometimes is hard to have. Conversations that can lead to your awakening. Conversations that help you debate your consciousness. I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be able to bring this type of content to you. It's very near and dear to my heart. Thank you very much. And we will be back next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central Time. Remember, stay woke. Good night, everybody.